Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Choma of Choma Stitches. So today we are going to be making a shift dress. A shift dress is a free dress that you can easily wear, and you can make it with or without a zipper at the back. You just have to make it comfortable enough for your neck to fit in. Okay, so for today we're going to be working with this chiffon fabric that I have. It's just a little over 1 yard. It's basically 1 yard fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be working with it in reverse. So the fabric on its own is let me measure the fabric's full length. Okay, so the fabric is 1 yard by 60 inches for this fabric, and so we're going to be using it to make a gown. Now, when you're making a shift gown, one of the things you should note is that a shift dress, a free dress, it's fine when it is either very long, like the floor length long, or very short, like above your knee shirts. But if you make it a 3/4, it doesn't come out so cool. So if you're making a shift dress, just have this in mind. Like, if you're going to make a shift dress, it has to be either very long, that's getting to the floor length, or very short, that is above your knee length. That is where the beauty of a shift dress comes out. So the one we're going to be making today, we're going to be combining it with this little piece of Ankara we have. We're going to be putting this Ankara around the sleeve and the design in front, and then look at this fringe. We're going to be using this fringe as well to design it, and as you can see the picture above, this is what we're making. And I'm going to be, this is a fringe too of its own, but it's not plenty, so I'm just going to cut it and piece it out and just spread it across to give it a little bit of a shimmery this. And I'm seeing that this silver is looking good on this brown fabric. Okay, so let's get into cutting. So today we're going to be cutting with freehand. You guys know I always do pattern drafting when I sew, but some dresses you just have to work with freehand. Like this, I do not need to make it too complicated. Since the fabric is 36 by 60, it means for the front width cannot be more than 30 when we are cutting it, so that we can have the same thing for the front and the back. And the dress is not going to be having a zipper. We're making it without a zipper. We're going to make the neck free enough that you can wear it without struggling. And so let's just get into this free dress cutting. Since we're going to be using the full length of the dress, the full length of the fabric to sew, the full length I have here, it's not even up to 36 inches. Wow, it's short. It's going to be short, but you know, the shorter the finer. Unless of course you would prefer it not long, not too short. That will be at your own discretion for when you're making your own. And as usual, please, when you make yours, do well to tag us. You can post it on our Facebook group, Creative Tailoring and Styling, and we can check it out and we'll talk about it, you know. So this one is 34 inches, 34 and a half. So I'm going to be working with it like that. When I'm making a shift dress, another thing I like to consider is my hip, right? If you are folding your fabric and you want to use the hip, for instance, because since the hip is now like the largest part of your body that you're going to be folding the fabric for, another thing you should consider is if you make this dress too free, it might be a bit shapeless and it might not come out really cool. Although there are cases where the design might require it to be so very, very big. But for the kind of shift dress I'm making, I want it to be able to not have too much difference from my to not be too free, that it will not show my hips, right? I just hope you understand what I'm saying. So now my hip is 42 inches, and 42 inches is about 10.5 when you fold it in half, right? Now if you look at this, when you measure this now, you see that the difference is so much. So even if I add, say, 1 inch sewing allowance, I still have so much left here. And I would like this to just be 1 inch wider than my hip. So what I need actually is just 12.5. So I'm just going to refold this to 12.5. That way, whatever is left, we can even use it to make the pockets, to give the dress a pocket. Cutting this kind of shift dress, right? one of the things you also consider is the style you are cutting. If the style you are making is like the style I'm making now, which is the sleeve and the body will be cut together, so there will be no difference between the sleeve and the body. In other words, you're not going, the sleeve is not detachable, the sleeve is going to be part of the body, you are cutting it together. Okay, so because of that, you are considering both your hip measurement and your sleeve length. Now this sleeve length for this particular dress, we do not have a choice but to make it super short because we don't have so much fabric, and at the same time we want to also make it in a way that we don't waste fabric, because I want to have a little bit left over from the fabric so I can use it to make pockets, side pockets for the dress. Okay, now to achieve this, I want to work with 13 inches. So I folded my fabric into two and giving me 13 inches on fold. And for my hip measurement is 42, which is 10.5. As 42 divided by 4 will be 10.5. But what I need is I need the dress to be just 1 inch bigger than my hip. Okay, just 1 inch. So I'm going to be needing instead of 10.5, I'll be needing 11 for my hip area, and then I'll be adding 1 inch to it to give me the sewing allowance. So what I need is 12. So I can go ahead and measure my shoulder to my hip measurement is 24-25. So this is around here, and so I'm going to measure out my 12. So I'm just going to take this 12 down. Now the shoulder to my waistline is 18. Shoulder to the curvier part of my body is 16. Okay, let me just mark this. I don't want to make so much marking because we're marking exactly on the fabric, even though it will clean, but I just want to make too much marking. I hope it's clear. So long as we can see the markings, that's what's important. So this is the hip area, H, and this is the waist, W. This is the arm. So the shoulder to the my shoulder to the hip, my hip is 25. Shoulder to my waist, that's my navel, is 18. Now the curvy part of my body is between 13, and the curvier part is between 13 and 16. But we don't need this dress to be curved in because we're making a free dress. Remember, we're making a free dress. And the shoulder to my bust is 10.5. So I'm just going to mark 10.5. This is going to guide us in creating this dress, because we are going to be including the sleeve of the dress as we're marking it, right? Now, when I want to sew a dress that has a, if you want the dress to be free for you to be able to wear it without struggle, I can use, say, 4 inches for the neckline cutting. Now to cut the neckline, please don't forget to pin. Don't forget to pin, because chiffon fabrics, they are quite stretchy. They are a bit stretchy and unstable, and they will keep moving around. So keep it in place with pins. Alright, okay. So let's get to it. So I'm going, if I use 4 inches for my neckline, 4 inches, and then for the front part, I can decide to come down by, say, 5. So I can do 4 by 5 for the front, or I can do 4 by 4.5, or 4 by 4. So I can do 4.5 and for the front, and then for the back we're just going to do 2 inches. So I'm just going to curve in the 4 by 4.5 for the front. Now the slanting for your shoulder slanting, just measure your shoulder. My shoulder is 7.5. Come down by just 1 inch, because this is not a fitted dress, so we're not going to be using 1.5 for the front. We're going to be using just 1 inch because it's not a fitted dress. Okay, and then So the joining will be around the shoulder area. And then you have your 1 inch. So I'm just going to connect this 1 inch to the shoulder line. Okay, now instead of slanting it down all the way, that will now reduce it all the way. From here you can just go down by 1 inch or 1.5 to the end of the fabric to get your sleeve. This space is now part of your sleeve, part of the sleeve. Now so let's just go over the markings we've done. This is the shoulder slanting. First you mark down your 1 inch slanting for the shoulder when you get your actual shoulder measurement, which mine is 7.5, and then whatever is left will be the extended sleeve. So what I have left here is extended sleeve. And also remember, we're going to be adding Ankara piece to the end of the sleeve, so the sleeve will be a bit longer than this when we add say 1 inch of Ankara on fold. So the sleeve will be definitely longer. Now if you know that from the shoulder, this marking here is my bust line B. So from shoulder to the bust line is 10, and we don't want to make a shift dress where the bust is open, because it's not too free. It's not a very full dress. It's not very big. So if you make it like this and you curve out the sleeve from the bust area, it is going to expose your bust, to show your side of your breast. So for that, we're just going to go up from the bust, say 1.5 inch. Now this will now be our sleeve. So you can curve this down like so. Now why am I going 1.5 inch? This is because, so what is my bust? Now you can now take cognizance of your bust measurement. Now my bust measurement is around 8.75, because it's 35 inches, but we want it to be free, so I can work with 9.5, so I can sew with 1/2 inch from the bust side. So I can set to sew with 1/2 inch. Now my armhole measurement is 10 inches, which is divided into 2 for this length. My armhole will be like 11 around here, which, so I need like 1/2 inch to join it on the down part and 1/2 inch for the shoulder part. So from 11 inch I need 6.5, and I'm having exactly 6.5 here, so this will definitely work for me. This fabric is not much, so we're just using with the fabric we have. Okay, and again, so from the bust area, I'm just going to, you can use your free hand or use your ruler to connect it all the way to the hip line, because we don't want this to be curvy. It's a free dress, it is not be curvy. Okay, now this is the markings we have done. Now let's have a closer look. So this is our shoulder to the hip line, the shoulder to the hip line. This is the shoulder to the waist. This is the waistline. Now this is the shoulder to the bust line. This is the bust line. Now for the neckline, we said we are going to be using 4 inches on this side, 4 by 4.5 for the front. Now for the back, we're going to be using 2 inches, but for this front we're using 4.5. okay, now this is our 1 inch shoulder slanting, and then I just extended it by coming down here to 1.5. I just measured 1.5 at the end of the sleeve length, because we are cutting it with the sleeve inclusive, and then use my straight ruler to connect it to the shoulder slanting all the way here. Now, and then for this place, this is our this is not going to be our arm measurement, because we're cutting the sleeve inclusive with the dress together. So this, my arm, what I need here is 11, which is 5.5, and total of what I have here is about 6.8, and this will work. So this is my bust measurement is about 8.75. That's when you divide 35 by 4. But what I need to sew this dress is just 1/2 inch, so I have a little over 9, a little bit over 9 inches here, and I just connected all the way to the hip. Now for the hip, my hip is 42 divided by 4 will give you 10.5, and what I have here is 12. So I have more than enough for the sewing and for it to still be free around the hip area. So I just extended this all the way down. Now this is the markings we've made, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so let's just cut it out. I'm going to start by pinning around the places I marked so that it will stay in place, because we are going to be using this front piece to cut the back. Okay, so cutting. Instead of cutting out this the front neckline, I'm first of all going to place this on top of the back piece, so we can cut out the shoulder for the front and the back together and the neckline at the same time. So I'm just going to use this to place it on top of the back piece. So let's just fold in the remaining fabric to get the back piece. We've placed the front on top of the back. Now we want to cut out the back neckline. Now to cut out the back neckline, I said we are going to be using 2 inches. So we're going to come down by 2 inches to mark the back neckline. So I'm just going to use my free hand and connect it from the 4 inches. Now the reason why we're making this exactly the way it is because we don't want to add a zipper at the back, but we want to still be able to wear this dress freely from the top. Now to do that, I think we can readjust the front part, the depth of the front neckline, so that it will be deeper to make it easier for us to wear it. Okay, if not, we can extend the neckline to be wider. So whichever one that we choose to work with. So we either make the neckline wider, or we work on the front and make the front a little bit more open, like go lower. So I think I will choose to go lower on the front instead of making it wider on the shoulder. So instead of working with 4.5 for the front, I will choose to work with 5.5. So the front depth now is 5.5 by 4 inches. So I'm just going to use my ruler to connect this 5.5 to the 4 inches of the shoulder. So what we have here now is 4 inches by 5.5, while the back is 4 inches by 2 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the shoulder of the both of them together. So first I'm going to cut out the back by cutting at the 2 inches, and then I'm going to take out the shoulder slanting. Okay. Now I can now take out the depth of the front piece. So please, when you are now cutting, since the two of them are placed together, please be careful not to pick the front and the back together and cut, because once you put that scissors, there's no going back. So pick only the front piece. I'm going to pick only the front piece and cut. Alright, now we can cut out the other part of the body. This is an easy dress, Okay, now we have it. We have the front and the back piece. And the pieces that is left, we can now decide what we'll do with it. Now I'm thinking I'm going to add side pockets to this. Now shift dresses also do well with side pockets. So the fabric we have left, I want to use it to cut out pockets. And then it won't be enough for us to use it to pipe the neckline. But if it would be, we will just manage what is left to pipe the neckline of the dress. Okay, so the fabric that's left, I'm just going to fold it in and use it for the pockets. Now to cut this pocket, since we don't have a lot of fabric left, I'm just going to be making the pockets as small as I can. So I'm going to be using my hand. I'm just going to use my hand as the guide to cut the size of the pockets. Okay. Alright, so this will be enough for me. I'm just going to cut it out. to make each side equal and have the same shape, I'm just going to fold it in half and trim it out so that it will have the same shape on all sides. This is just one piece, and we need 4 pieces to make the complete pocket for the dress. So I'm going to be using this one piece that I have cut out as the pattern to cut out the rest. So this is our pocket. So I'm just going to use it to place it on the rest to cut out the remaining part of the pocket. Okay, now I need to get the other 2 pieces. Here we are. I can place this like this and just cut it out. Since the fabric looks the same front and back, I'm just going to indicate where the back is by marking on the back part, so that I will know where the back of the fabric is. Okay, so that's the pocket. I have to cut it with the leftover fabric from the material. So now what's left now is these pieces, and I'm thinking I'm going to use these pieces for my neckline piping. Now to pipe the neckline of this dress, we are going to be cutting these pieces that is left into a bias foam. Okay, we're going to be cutting it into bias foam. The depth of the front piece, let's just measure round. For the front piece is on fold, so this I'm having like 8.2. So if I open it up, this will give us about 16.4 for the depth of the front. So this one will be enough to get us the front piece of the dress. So now, how wide do I want this bias to be? Okay, how wide do I want this bias to be? I can choose to make the bias say 1.5 inches to give me room to properly fold it in. And 1.5 inches all the way, mark it out, and that will be my bias for the front. And since this looks like I can get another 1.5 in it, I'm just going to cut out the 2 of them. So I can keep this on fold and get the 2 1.5, so that we can use both of them to pipe the back of the neckline. We can use both of them to pipe the neckline of the dress. Now, so this is I folded it in half. It is like 2.5 inches in all, folded into 2, giving us a little over 1 inch on each side. So I'm going to be using this. So here we have these 2 pieces, and I'm going to be using it to cover the neckline. So first, what I'm going to do now is show us how we are going to attach the pockets. So this is the front piece. I'm just going to open it up like so. Yeah, so you are going to attach the pockets from the front. Now from the armhole, so there is obviously our armhole, even though it's cut together. I'm just going to measure down by 8, get to 8, measure down 8 inches and mark it. And then take one side or one of the pockets like so, and I'm going to be pinning it. You start pinning it. You put the right side of the pocket on the right side of the fabric, exactly on your 8 inches, and pin it on to the side of the dress. So this is how you attach this kind of pockets. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use my and just run a straight stitch just on it like so. I'm just going to take it to the machine and run a straight stitch on it like this, like so. So let me also pin down the other pocket, the other side of the pocket. So like I did on this side, take your tape rule, measure from the armhole 8 inches. Now you have to use that exact measurement on both of them, because you are going to be matching these two together. So here I'm placing it like so, exactly on the 8 inches, and I'm going to pin it. Match it, a straight stitch, just straight up like so. And when you do that, you will have an attached pocket. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach the pockets first, then we'll come back and continue. Let me go and attach the pockets both for the front side and the front and the back side. The pockets are attached. Here are the pockets attached, sewn with just 1/2 inch. Okay, and this is it. And the other side as well, it is sewn and ironed. I have to iron. You have to iron it to keep it laying flat. This is for the other piece, also attached and ironed. Alright, so what's left now, what I have to do now is the neckline, to cover the neckline. So this is the piece we cut out. First, let me indicate where the back of these pieces are, so that we'll just know how to separate it. Okay, it's already indicated back. So let me just cut it out. Remove the pins. This is the front neckline. Hold out the piece. Want to pipe it like the way you attach a bias, to use a bias to cover something or cover a neckline. So I'm just going to pin it all the way. So here I'm going to run a straight stitch on this. When you turn it the other way around, let me show you what we're going to be doing. So run a straight stitch. When you turn it out, it will be like this. Then you can fold it in like so to the other side and top stitch it again. This is a way you can conceal the front piece, the roughness on the neckline. So we're just going to pipe it like so. When we're done, we'll iron it. So I hope you guys know how to do piping. If not, well, let me just show us how we do it. Let me just sew on the front piece and show us how you can pipe a front neckline and a back neckline, any neckline at all. It's just the same method. So I have sewn the neckline, the front neckline. The way I pin it, I've sewn it all the way to the, this is it. So I have sewn this piece on it. I'm just going to take out the pin. And don't forget to use a matching thread to sew, okay? So now what we're going to do now to pipe this neckline is fold it in here like so. Fold this part like so. And then fold it again. Now, depending on how tiny you want it, you can make it as tiny as this, or you can make it bigger. Now this is going to give us a neatly finished neckline for this. So you can sew from the back or the front, however you feel most comfortable. But I'll be sewing from the front because I want to be able to control how the front looks. So I'm going to do this for the neck, for this place. Do it for the back piece, and I also use the same method to attach the Ankara to the sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that and then iron it, and then we will join the pieces together. Now remember, we are attaching an Ankara piece to this dress. Don't forget, we're supposed to be using an Ankara for this as well. Now this Ankara, as you can see in the front of the dress, we need it to be in front of the dress as a design. Now where you place this design is now up to you. It will be your choice how long you want it to be and where you want it to stop and all of that. So for this one, I want it to be like 12 inches long. So I'm going to choose the front part of this. Okay, this is the front. I'm just going to fold it in half. So I have 14 inches long here. I'm going to reduce it, so I need it to be like 13 inches long when I place it. Okay, so if it's going to be 13 inches, then I need 13 and a half, so that's 1 inch will be for the sewing. And for you to get this in a straight line, use a straight ruler like so. I'm placing the edge of this ruler, because it's straight, at the edge of the folded part, so it's going to help direct my ruler so I can make it straight as I can. So I'm just going to rule on it, mark it. Now, how wide do you want this to be? That is also dependent on you. You can make it to be as wide as 7 inches, 8 inches, or your choice. So I'm going to make this one 8 inches, because I'll be using ½ inch on each side to conceal it. So that at the end of the day, what I'm going to have is 7 inches. So I'm marking 8 inches. Oh, sadly, I thought it was recording. This is the piece of the Ankara. I just cut it out from here. So all I did was just measure it for the length I want. What I want is I want it to be like 13 inches by the time I'm done. And then the width, I want the width, the size to be 7 inches. So I cut out 8 inches. I cut out 8 inches by 13.5 inches. And so what I'm going to do is take it to the machine, sew here with ½ inch, here ½ inch, sew here as well, and then I'll probably leave like 2 inches or 3 inches in the middle that I'm not going to sew. I'm going to leave it open so I can turn this whole thing inside out and iron it. The point of doing this is just to give this a neatly finished piece, so that it will look clean and it will be weighty, to have some kind of texture before we can attach it with the fringe to the front piece of the dress. This Ankara, we can decide the length we want our sleeve to be. Now the sleeve here is not long enough. Let me use this as an example to show us, because the sleeve was attached to it. So the sleeve we have here is probably around 4 inches. So if I decided to extend it now, I can use the Ankara. Since the Ankara is the extension now, as a design and as an extension, we can use it to alter it to make it more. Okay, but if you use the Ankara and make it too long, it will not be fine. So I'm going to be working with this 7.5 inches that we have here for both sleeves. So this 7.5 inch, let me just cut it out. And the length of the sleeve is about 7 inches. So we don't even need so much. So 7 inches. Let's fold it in and see something. Let's see. So let's see, this should be up to 14 inches. Yes, this is 15 inches. So this is more than enough. Let me just cut it out and show us what we are doing, what we are aiming at. Okay, what I have here is 7 inches. I'm going to measure 7 inches all the way and cut it out. Okay, but what we need is about 14 inches, because we are cutting it in half. What we have here is like 15. So let me just trim this out. I can follow this marking to get me. Okay, I'm going to cut this in half. Cut it in half and mark to indicate where the front is. Now this part is the back, so I'm just going to mark on it to indicate that this is the back piece of the Ankara. So I'm going to fold it in half and cut it out again. So now we have two for each of these sleeves. So for the front piece now, or this back piece, what you have to do is take one of the sleeves, one of the piece of Ankara, place it right here and just match on it. You match it with the right with this side, and then you use it the same way we're going to pipe the neckline to pipe this one to extend the length of the Ankara. So this is what we're going to go and do for all of them, for all of the sleeves. I'm going to do those and bring it back, so we will now try and complete this dress. We're almost done. Okay guys, so I want to show you guys how I have managed to attach okay, first of all, here is the sleeve. I had to double stitch it at some point, but it still came out really cute and neat. And this is the sleeve. This is how I attach the sleeve, the Ankara to it. First you sew it on one side and then you top stitch, and that is why I left this place. I've not finished it up because I wanted to show you guys how I do it. So first you sew this part, right? Look at this, and you can iron it as well before you continue, and then you fold it backwards, right? And then just hold it down like so, and then top stitch over here. Okay, so this is how we do it. All right, so that's for that. And of course you already know that we've already attached the pockets and ironed, and I also went ahead to hem the edges. This is it. I've hemmed the edges as well. And this is the piece of Ankara that I cut out and folded in half. You know, I've gone ahead to sew the sides, and this is the opening where I turned it inside out from. Okay, so now this is a total of 13 inches long, and the sides is 7. So let me show you what this is for. Now here is the back piece. Here is the back piece laying down like so. Okay, so to finish it off, what I have to do is place this one on top of it like this. Like this. Place it like this. You see, they all match because we had to take measurements when we were putting it on each side. So if you put it like that with the measurements correctly, it will match when you place it on top of it. To just be the other side of it, right? This is it. Okay, and this is the front, the top. Okay, the neckline, and here is the sleeve extension. So to complete this dress, we're just going to go ahead and run a stitch all the way 1/2 inch like this. When you get here, you come this way, go the way, and come here, come right back here, and then finish it off. The same thing here. So you join the shoulder first, and then you sew all the way. When you get here, you come this way like this, and then all the way. Now that's how we're going to finish off this dress. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, so now, but the last thing to do before we finish it off, like I just explained, is to attach the pattern in front of it with the fringe. So let me show us how we're going to attach this pattern with the fringe. Okay, so to finish off this, so this is it. When I joined it together, this is the part that I did not cover up, right? The part that is open. So I'm going to be placing it like this, like this. First, you have to be sure of where you are going to start placing it, and to do that, I'm going to measure from here to 10. From the shoulder, I'm going to measure 10 inches. That's around the bust, top of the bust, and I'm going to place it there. Now make sure this is at the middle, so you can go ahead and measure the sides to be sure it is placed at the middle. This is the middle, 21, that's 10.5. So I'm going to move this to the middle. So we're placing this at the middle. Now the next thing to do is the fringe. So the fringe is going to come. Now how are we placing this fringe? Now this is important. Now for this fringe, seeing that this fringe is not long enough to get to each edge, I am going to put it under this Ankara. So I'm going to be placing the fringe like so. So with this silver fringe I have, this is what I'm going to do. The length of this one seems so long, so I'm just going to cut out here and then open this place and place this one strategically. You can decide where you place any one, just rearrange it, you know. The important thing is making it show. If it's not enough, if you have more, you can add to it. And also remember that when we are done adding this, of course you're going to trim out this one that is longer, and you can use a candle light to burn the edges so it does not shred. Look at the way here it's shredding, so it doesn't shred. Okay, this I'm just going to add more. So you're going to place it as many as you want to. So I'm going to place this on top of this like this, pin it down and go and sew it. So I'm going to pin it down and then go ahead and sew it, starting from here. So sew here, lock it up, and then come back here and sew from here to meet up here. Now this is the design we're placing on this. Okay, now this is as you can, if you have more of this, or if you have something finer than this, you can do this. Is just to bring out the beauty of the dress, and as you can see on the body, it looks amazing. Okay, let's go ahead and do this part, and then when I'm done doing attaching this, I'm just going to place the back piece on top of it and hem all the edges and just join it, and then you can take it to a weaving machine and weave the inside so that the inside will be as clean as the outside, so that we'll have a neatly finished work. I've gone ahead to complete it. I finished it off. Yeah, this is the back, this is the front. So if you look here, you will see the sewing line for the pattern we added in front, and this is the neckline. So let's turn it up inside out and see how the outside look. So please don't forget to use a weaving machine to weave all of here to give it a better finishing, so that you know it will not shred. Okay, I've turned it inside out. This is the back, and here is the pockets, one side of the pockets, and this is the other pocket. So let's turn to the front and let's see what we have here. This is it. This is it. We have to give it a good press, good ironing, so that it will everywhere will relax and lay perfectly. And this is the front. This is the fringe we added. So thank you so much for staying to the end of the video, and if this video was of any help to you, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. And if you have any comments or any thoughts, please say that, put it in the comment section.